On a clear day, you can see forever.
Ah.
And never into Harry Connick Jr.'s eyes. So dreamy.
I know.
He has a beautiful voice live in person, is what I'll say for him. I mean, no, he was fantastic.
I have always loved Harry Connick Jr.'s voice. I have many of his Christmas songs because I find a crooner type voice is one of the best to sing a Christmas song. But yeah.
Live and in person. His voice is beautiful and fantastic, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
My previous introduction to the show is I had seen the movie with Barbra Streisand a long time ago. All I remembered was that it was cuckoo banana crazy and made no sense, and I was like, what?
I didn't know anything about the show until they talked about reviving it.
But we read through the synopsis of the original production to refresh brains, and what? It made no sense. And I think the changes they made to this show gave it a story, gave it heart. Like, I mean, I loved it. I loved it. It's a little bit of like kind of a weird, wacky show. But if you, going into it, accept the reality that they live in,
sure,
it's a beautiful story. It makes so much sense. You just have to accept to live in their reality. In his reality, really. It's like a beautiful, beautiful story, the way they reworked it. Like, spoiler alert! So, synopsis. So basically the way the show has been reworked is that we have David, who is a young gay man who is a smoker and also an apprentice florist, and he has a boyfriend who's like this really awesome, great boyfriend, and his boyfriend wants him to quit smoking, and he is having a hard time doing it,
and having a hard time committing to his boyfriend.
And having a really hard time committing to this great, great guy that he's dating. And then it's like his, hag is in this psychology class who's like, you should go to this psychology class one day. So he goes to the psychology class, he meets Mark, the doctor, who is doing hypnotherapy, and he finds out that he's very easily hypnotized and wants to know if he can be hypnotized to stop smoking. Mm-hmm. So he discovers Melinda and is like, whoa, and then is like, whoa, hey, and falls in love with her, and then David falls in love with him, and it's like very complicated.
It's not as complicated as it sounds when you watch it.
When you watch it, it's perfect. Especially, you know what I loved was that beautiful dance that happened between the three of them. That was beautiful.
That was pretty fantastic.
Obsessed with that. And the moment at the, spoiler alert, first act finale, when he leans in to kiss her and then kisses him, that moment, I want to like replay that moment. It's
an actual
beautiful.
Kiss. They copped out a little bit.
He's a widower.
Yeah.
And he's very much still grieving his dead wife. And so then he discovers that Melinda is actually a past life. She's not like an alternate personality or whatever of David's. It's a past life that he lived, and he's like in love with her or whatever. So what I thought was so beautiful and brilliant that they did with the story was the scene that happens between Matilda and Mark is so beautiful. It made me cry because she's like, I'm getting on this plane to go do my USO tour. And he's like, don't get on that plane. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, we all have to live our lives. We can't live our lives in fear. We have to just, people die every day and shit happens and you can't live in fear, basically. She's like, you have to live your life. And he's like, no, please, he's like, just don't get on this plane because if you do, you're going to die and I don't want you to die. And she was like, oh God, she had a beautiful line where she was like, she was like, that's what happens. People die and you have to deal with it and you move on and you keep a part of them inside of you, and you live in the moments of your memories of them. And he was like, it's not enough. It's not enough.
I did not understand what he said, which is a bummer.
Oh my god, I can't believe you.
Because I felt like everybody was like, oh,
it was such a
I don't know what he just said.
Because she was like, you get to keep the memory of them, and he was like, that's not enough.
I heard her say that, and then all I heard was like, Mama!
No, he was saying that's not enough, and it was like so beautiful, because like that, when you're grieving someone, like that is totally how, you know, like that's what you're supposed to think. You're supposed to be like, yeah, you know, and like their memory lives on or whatever, but like emotionally you're like, no, I want them in front of me. I want that real person. So that like brought it all together. I mean, not that I wasn't already on board, because it totally was, but that moment especially, then I was like, oh, you did it, creators. The rewrites were beautiful, and it made me cry, and I was like, don't get on the plane.
Really wanted it to be some kind of Lifetime original movie, alternate reality amazingness, where, you know, several things could have happened. Either her to be like, okay, I won't get on this plane, and then that changes the course of history, and
then he like goes and finds her.
Yeah, and she's like a happy old woman, and I don't know, he learns something from her. Or because he was also like, then I'm gonna get on the plane with you. Or he does get on the plane with her, and then ceases to exist in today's reality. And then David comes out of his trance, and all that's left is like, Harry Connick Jr.'s glasses on the ground.
I understand why that's like what you had in your, and I get that, and like in that context.
There was a third?
No,
I think the third one. All right.
I think in that context that you're talking about, like Kate and Leopold, all that stuff. Like I get it, I love it. I also eat it up, but for this context, especially because people are like, "Ooh, that wacky weirdo show."
I know.
That scene gave it like the heart and the emotion and like the. Yeah, like the heart that it needed to be like, yeah, it's a wacky, weird show, but it has like a beautiful, poignant message.
And again, I think that the way it was done worked, and I don't have a problem with it, but like in my heart of hearts,
you just love
parallel universes.
When they wake up from the dream and they're like, what's this place?
Oh god, I love it.
I want to talk about a beautiful Broadway ensemble, especially in a show with a big name like Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah.
Because normally when you have a show where they're like, with so-and-so, and then like nobody else matters, or like whatever show it is, it's like a one-person show with like chorus people or whatever. This, like, everyone in the cast, every single character, supporting character, was fantastic and well portrayed, well acted. Everyone in the cast is really talented, and I like also well written. Like the hag, awesome. Yeah, love her. Loved her outfits. Loved all the costumes. But like I loved her boots. She had those great boots. She was fabulous. Like the female doctor, she was fantastic. The boyfriend was awesome.
He was fantastic.
The secretary was awesome.
She was great.
And last but certainly not least, who I would like to talk about for the next hour and 45 minutes. Jessie Mueller! Holy shit!
To Broadway.
Welcome to Broadway! I f***ing love you. She's amazing.
She was amazing.
She is amazing. She's like, she's so perfectly, beautifully portrayed that. She's a amazing singer. Holy shit. If they don't make a cast recording of this, I'm gonna freak out, because I need that radio song like nobody's business.
Do you know what was missing?
What?
Especially because she has such an amazing voice, and we were discussing this, like, does that period singing very well? We were discussing whether, like, that's how she sings, or which I'm sure is not. She has such an amazing instrument. I'm sure it's super, super versatile. But there wasn't enough of her and Harry Connick Jr. singing together. Because he has that, like, amazing crooner Sinatra voice.
She was doing that.
Do an album together.
do a Bird Lane concert together and an album. Do an album and then do a Bird Lane concert to release the album. Yes,
they should sing Sue Me.
That would be amazing.
Such love, such love. From now on I'll never touch love, such love, such love.
Yeah, please put out an album together.
Seriously.
Or at least Harry Connick Jr. on your next album.
Let her duet
Have
with you.
her, you know, put her on a couple of tracks because it will be amazing.
Oh my god, it would be so beautiful. It would be so beautiful.